Right now, I would say we are fighting an affordability issue. 24 years ago, you could purchase a home, a really nice home, under 300,000. Right now, anything under 300,000 is really almost kind of like rental properties or rent apartments.
But Smyrna has been my spot because it's so convenient to get around to Buckhead, downtown, all that.
Mhm.
But when
And
you hit,
the values in Smyrna
yeah,
are very
exactly, yeah,
stable. They're very
yeah,
stable, even during when property values decreased and declined for a minute there.
hmm,
The values in Smyrna and that whole Smyrna Vinings area, they really stayed consistent. So I
yeah. We've
think,
been,
the price points are fairly decent for the amount of home that you can get.
hmm,
So, you mentioned Johns Creek. What you
right.
can get in Johns Creek, you're not, well, what you can get in Stone Mountain, you're not going to be able to get that in Johns Creek
Sounds
at that
great.
same price.
Welcome to another episode of Elite Psyche, the Mental Toughness Pod. Uh, this is where we interview elite individuals, in my mind, and also the ones who, anytime you elite and that means you've gone through some stuff, and so you have to be mentally strong and mentally tough. And so as we go through our interview, a lot of times you will hear some stories or some things with people who are quite successful. They kind of tell their stories of some of the things they went through, and that's what we talk about here on Elite Psyche. This show today is sponsored by New Spira. If you could see, oh, that side. See, that side. New Spira, man, where better matters. Where better matters. Brand new company with New Spira has latte coffee, the mushroom coffee. They have the detox drink, and they also have a black coffee. So, but sponsored by New Spira, and we'll talk a little bit more toward the end about that. But today, my guest is Janaea Janaea Kennedy, and yeah, give her a round of applause. Now, in my mind, Janaea is the greatest real estate agent in Atlanta. In Atlanta, I don't know anybody that's doing it like she's doing it. I met her about, God, let me see, that had to be 2014 or 15, something like that. You remember?
I remember us meeting. I don't remember the years along.
Well, it was the event you all were at this hotel, and I was there, and our team was there doing a meeting, and I walked past you and your friend. I
Mhm.
think your friend was from Birmingham, right?
She's
Which
from No, she's from Columbus.
So that's not the one that was a judge.
No.
It
Mm-mm.
was somebody else we met that day.
Mhm.
Okay, so yeah, I passed you two in the lobby, and we had funny conversations that day. It was funny, you know what I'm saying? So, but I kept your card, and over the years, I think I had you help a couple of people, a couple of ladies who were moving their kids to Atlanta, and you helped get them, places to stay and stuff like that. And I've been, kind of following you from afar, what you're doing with real estate. I'm excited today to have you on. I want to talk about real estate in Atlanta. I want to talk about real estate, period. Uh, but let's talk a little bit about your background. How do you get in? How did you get into real estate?
Okay, so I went to or graduated from Tuskegee University, and
Oh,
I majored in marketing. I thought that
okay.
I was going to work on commercials, like for movies, for TV, for radio. And when I did some internships, I realized that those jobs at the time were heavy turnover jobs. So they turned over all the time, and they were not very secure. So I decided, well, let me go into real estate and save a lot of money and stack my money so that I could pursue my dream. And that was 24 years ago. And I'm still selling real estate and have not gone into commercials or haven't pursued that what was once a dream. So I love it. I love what I do. I think I really was convinced to do real estate also because when I purchased my first home, it was a nightmare. And I really didn't want anyone else to experience what I experienced. And when I say a nightmare, I purchased a home in a city that was not a great city, not a good investment. My mom was telling me, make sure you open all the drawers and the cabinets and, look at the house up and down. And I'm like, I know what I'm doing, Mom. I know what I'm doing. Well, to my surprise, after I closed and moved in, I realized I did not have any drawers in my kitchen. They were fake drawers, so I couldn't put my silverware and towels or anything inside of a drawer. Nor did I have plugs, sockets in my bathrooms. So when I went to blow dry my hair or curl my hair or whatever, I had to use an extension cord.
Hold
And
on. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Stop it. Stop. How did you not check for the drawers and the plugs? And
I just, I was young. I was fresh out of college,
were you in
excited about.
Atlanta?
Yes, yep. Well, I purchased in Riverdale. So young, didn't know, thought I knew, but didn't know, and didn't have that guidance from the agent that I was working with. And so that is why I treat my clients the way I treat them and make sure they're checking everything when they're purchasing, because I don't want anyone to feel like I did.
Wow.
Yep.
So what happened? Did you call the agent and say, "Hold on, what did you sell me?"
No, I sucked it up and made it work. Made, what they say, make lemonade out of lemons.
Right.
And I made it work. But I hated the house. I used to cry coming home when pull in the driveway. I didn't even want to get out. Um, and so I ended up renting that house out and buying something better um, with
Where
a with myself as the agent.
Okay. How long had you moved in the home before you got into real estate?
Oh, probably. I think I jumped into real estate maybe a month or two after I purchased.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said I,
No.
I got to learn this game.
Yep. Yep.
Wow. So of your 24 years, tell me what's happening in Atlanta now that was different 24 years ago.
Ooh, right now I would say we are fighting an affordability issue. 24 years ago, you could purchase a home, a really nice home, under 300,000. Right now, anything under 300,000 is really almost kind of like rental properties or rent apartments, if you will. You're not going to get the same quality or amount of home you would have gotten for an affordable price.
Why is that?
It's just our market value has increased tremendously. I know, I deal with a lot of clients who are relocating from New York and California and Florida, and they think when they come to Atlanta that they're going to get this, really inexpensive home and it's going to be huge, lots of square footage, lots of acreage. And that's not necessarily the case anymore. It used to be.
Yeah.
Atlanta used to be really affordable,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
not so much.
You telling me something new because I just talked about this the other day. I was like, people come from New York, and it's so many people coming here, and they for 300,000, they would have to spend $1 million in New York, and all this stuff. And you're saying that things have changed.
Things have changed a lot, a lot. It's not like that anymore. The and then you're fighting with a lot of investors. And it used to be where investors were purchasing properties, under 100,000, putting renters in. Now investors had to increase their budget up to, the 300, 400,000, and still putting money into the home. And so, yeah, it's not as affordable as it used to be, unfortunately. I mean, I guess it depends on what side you're on, right? If you're a property owner, then you're
Hmm.
happy that you have that equity and that your values are increasing. But if you are, let's just say, a first time home buyer or a fairly new investor looking to get your foot wet or your feet wet, then you're kind of at a disadvantage with the affordability issues that we have in Atlanta.
Now, um, when I moved here, umpteen years ago, 30 years ago, maybe, I always liked I like inside the city. I moved, I was in an apartment on Crescent, right in Midtown.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I moved up to Virginia Highland, um, was renting a house. I wasn't buying anything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, lived up on Virginia Highland, Crescent. Uh, where else I live? There's been so many places in Atlanta. Oh, North Druid Hills.
Oh,
Lived out on
I
North
love
Druid.
North Jewel
I,
Hill.
I, I really, I really do. Also, that whole. I lived on what's the exit down Claremont?
Mm-hmm.
On Briarcliff and Claremont and all that. I had to move to Jonesboro one time, and I didn't want to do it, but what I was doing in business, they wanted me to move to Macon,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, I told them I was moving to Macon, but I moved to Jonesboro and
Mm-hmm.
jumped right on the highway and shoot up there every day. But then when I got out of Jonesboro, I was back. I got to Smyrna, and I
Mm-hmm.
pretty much been in Smyrna ever since. Right now my address is actually Atlanta address, but it's borderline of Smyrna and Atlanta. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but Smyrna has been my spot because it's so convenient to get around to Buckhead, downtown, all that.
Mm-hmm.
But when
And
you hit,
the values in Smyrna
yeah,
are very
exactly, yeah,
stable. They're very
yeah,
stable, even during when property values decreased and declined for a minute there.
hmm
The values in Smyrna and that whole Smyrna Vinings area, they really stayed consistent. So,
yeah. We've been a home. We built a home off of over by the Covered Bridge on
I know
what's that
exactly.
what's that road? I can't think of the name of it. But we moved there 2005 and then moved out to 2018. So even during that whole recession,
Mm-hmm.
we were good. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? We were good. But my question is, every time I talk to somebody and they say they got family members here, they say their family members have moved here, they say it's always Stone Mountain, um, Decatur, what's the Covington always, and they be like, "You so far away." I'm like, I think they far away to me. I'm saying
That
I'm
sounds
close.
like that
Yeah,
sounds like my friends. They're always like, "You live so far." I'm like, "You live so far."
yeah. Where are you? What part of the city are you?
So I live in Oxford, which is not like it's right outside of Conyers and Covington, or I
Okay,
say in between Conyers and Covington on the east side.
okay, okay.
To your point.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, yeah. So my question is the truth. I'm gonna tell you something. I had a friend of mine who bought a home in Stone Mountain. This was like 90, maybe 95, 96, and it could have been in the 90s, early 90s. And I know he sold it
Hmm.
in 99 and
Hmm.
moved. And he said he lost so much money that he would never, ever move to Stone Mountain or any of that area again. He moved way up to Johns Creek,
Hmm.
because he felt like he just said, I lost money.
Hmm.
So tell me, is the value picking up in those areas now? Because people are still moving there. And is it good to buy a home in those areas? Or is that just where people can afford when they
I think so. I think it's very considering. I think, the price points are fairly decent for the amount of home that you can get.
Mhm.
So, you mentioned Johns Creek. What you
Right.
can get in Johns Creek, you're not, well, what you can get in Stone Mountain, you're not going to be able to get that in Johns Creek
Johns
at that
Creek.
same price.
Right.
And so I think it is definitely more affordable. Unfortunately, some areas, the school systems may not have a great reputation. And so
Mhm.
when the school systems don't have such a great reputation, then it may mean that it's less desirable for families. And so when you're in an area that may not be as desirable, then the market value is not going to be as great as it could be, as opposed to another area where the perception is that schools are better or the area is better and it's just more desirable. So, I love the east side of town. At one point it was quiet. It was peaceful when you come home, but it's starting to pick up and, more development, which is fine. But I think people probably also may have moved to those areas because they're not too far from the city. And they're, and it was still fairly reasonably priced.
Wait a minute. You said Stone Mountain is not far from the city.
It's the other side. It's the other side.
Huh? What?
You take 78, ride it right on in. You fine. It's not far.
Stop it.
It's not far.
Stop it. Covington's not far either.
Covington is further, but Stone Mountain is, it's closer. It's closer in.
Wow. Okay.
Covington is further. Covington's going to be about 45 minutes.
I guess I'm comparing it to Smyrna. So
yeah. Oh, See, I'm comparing it to downtown.
I could get downtown from Smyrna in 10 minutes. I could get to Buckhead in 10 minutes. Okay. You telling me what's Stone Mountain to get downtown?
I would say
stop it.
Get downtown probably 25 minutes. That's not bad.
25 minutes?
That's not bad.
I can't see it. What you talking about? 12 o'clock at night or 5 o'clock in the morning?
Everything is 30 minutes away from the city. Come on.
Okay. Well, I guess except for Smyrna. But
you're a little closer.
All right. So tell me, what were the best years for you in real estate? Like, because there's so many people moving here. Now, I remember when I moved here, it was, that population count on Peachtree right there, across from Piedmont Hospital. I guess that's where it is. Yeah, that where it got the population of the city. When I moved here, it said 1.5 million. Now it's saying 6.5 million. So that many people that have moved to Atlanta, metropolitan area, because that's what they count. When people trip when you say Atlanta, they like, well, that ain't it. Every city, when they give that count, they give in metropolitan area, whether it's New York, LA, Atlanta, whatever. So Metro Atlanta, 6.5 million. Was that advantage for you in real estate with people coming here, or were they get more apartments, or were they buying homes?
No. We definitely, we have a lot of, we're the number one state for jobs. So that has brought a lot of people here. The movie industry has brought a lot of people here. And granted, we're not as affordable as we used to be 24 years ago, but we're still fairly affordable when you consider other states. I mean, because we're not the only ones feeling the price hike. So just like we went up, so has all the other places. And so people can still sell a home in another state and move and relocate here. And then especially, with all of the remote jobs now where people can work from anywhere, why not come to Atlanta? We have great parks. We have great recreation. We have great sports teams, kinda. Sometimes my Falcons, try.
But the Falcons, yeah, give me another bruh. The Falcons gonna do it this year.
I hope so. And I live with a Saints fan, and he makes it so hard.
Oh my God.
He makes it so hard.
Oh my God. You live with he's an Aints fan.
An Aints fan.
There you go.
Right.
Okay.
But no, we have great schools. Our airport, of course, is the busiest airport, and so we're a very attractive state, and Metro Atlanta is a very attractive area, and so people are relocating here.
On social media, it's so much hate out there for Atlanta. They always say, it ain't what it seemed to be. It ain't what it's cracked up to be. I'm like, well, okay, tell me another city, and the first thing they say is Charlotte, and I'm like, no, I've been to Charlotte, so. Then they might say Dallas. Now I like Dallas.
Houston too is coming up too. I hear.
And to me, I don't. Houston to me is like a gigantic Memphis. So I don't look at Houston like that. But Dallas, now Dallas is up and coming. Dallas, no, it's already here. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
The growth in Dallas. I remember driving somewhere. I was driving on this one highway, and it's like I could drive 20 miles, and all you saw was construction, high rises. So Dallas is really, but Atlanta, the growth in Atlanta is ridiculous. One of my problems with Atlanta though is that you go from 1.5 million to 6.5, and you still got the same highways.
Yeah.
You hadn't built any new highways, so that's why the traffic is so crazy
Yeah.
with that. But
And the metro,
it doesn't go
trains.
out. It
I
doesn't go
wish.
out far enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
that was, that's that's a debate that I have with my partners all the time. Why it doesn't go out there? Because certain people don't want it to go there,
Yeah.
and eventually they're gonna have to give it up and say, we're an international city, and we have to, have those trains go out there.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, they fighting it. So, okay, I did. Okay, the question I kind of interrupted the question. Give me the years. So I can tell you, I know I can give you 6 or 7 years where you were booming, 2000 to 2008, when they was doing all those no documentation. I know
Yeah.
you had to make a killing during that time.
Yeah. That's a good question. I would say probably, I don't know. I would say maybe 2021 was a good year. Even with COVID, I mean, interest rates were at an all-time low. People were buying left and
Mm-hmm.
right. Sellers were able to get whatever they wanted to, get for their house because rates were so low, and buyers were just, they didn't care what the house looked like. They just wanted to get in. They would fix up whatever needed to be fixed up once they were
That
in.
was 2021.
Mm-hmm.
They must have changed that right quick, because
Yeah, because 2022, the interest rates went up.
right.
So that stopped that. But I remember showing property to clients, and we would overbid like $40,000, $50,000, and they still weren't getting it. The highest I seen someone pay over the list price was $101,000. And I don't know if you saw one time on social media, may have been end of 2020, beginning of 2021, where I went to an open house with a client, and I know there had to have been 100 people there, like, and the cars were still coming.
Wow. No, I
Yeah.
didn't. Wow.
It was ridiculous. I mean, we would be waiting in line to show property. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it was a crazy time, but that was probably a really good year for me in real estate. I don't know. I've been pretty consistent
So
throughout the
you're
years.
saying those no doc years wasn't booming for you?
They were good. They were good.
Did you feel bad about putting some people in them homes and they shouldn't have been in there?
No, because I talked to them till I was blue in the face about, this, what this means.
Right.
Are you going to be able to handle this?
Mm-hmm.
Especially adjustable rate mortgages as well, when people were doing a lot of those. And I think those are kind of coming back because rates are so high now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
just making sure people understand what they're walking into and the what if. They're always like, oh, I can just refinance. But what if you can't? What are you going
Yeah.
to do? Are you going to be prepared to rent the house? Are you going to be prepared to sell it? Like, what's your plan B if this doesn't work out or things become, unaffordable?
Right.
And I always preach, not being house poor,
Right.
where everything is in the house, and to
Mm-hmm.
plan for those rainy days, because the AC is going to go out. You might
Mm-hmm.
need a new stove,
Yep.
something's going to happen, and you got to have a stash to take care of those things when they come up. So I do a lot of teaching, preaching. I'm kind of a mama bear. I always say that with my
Okay.
clients, no matter who they are or how old
Mm-hmm.
they are and what transaction this is for them. So much so they are always like, why are you thinking ahead? I want to enjoy the moment. And I'm like, cuz when you call me 4 or 5 years from now, I want to make sure that you are in a good place and we're
Right.
not, struggling trying to get rid of something. So, but yeah.
I was just about to say, well, you're a great person, because a lot of people don't do that. They're like, they're gonna get you in that home and they be like, hey, that's your fault. later on if something happens. And a lot of times people don't count the cost of having a home. They just think about the payment and that's it. But you got to take care of the lawn. You got to fix anything that happens. It ain't like apartment now, so you can't call somebody and have them come fix it. You got to take care of when that air goes out and it's $1,800 to replace it. You got to pay for it. I remember the builder didn't do something right with the pipes in our backyard, so I had to pay another $5,000 for him to get the pipes because it was so soggy back there. Then about 5 years in or 6 years in, they had to put some cheap pipes or something under the driveway. So that all of a sudden it started leaking there, and you could see the water run down the street. I'm like, oh God! I called the guy. He came and he had to, crack the driveway wide open and find that the pipes that they used when they built the house was some cheap stuff they threw in under there because I didn't know what to look for. We were there while they were building it, but nobody knows what to look for the pipes. And so now you're talking about another $2,000 that you had to spend and all that stuff. So people don't count. That's a good question for you. So. Okay, now I mean this is crazy to ask. This is like asking a hungry dog to watch the meat locker. But is it better to purchase, or some people don't purchase? I mean, I know
Well, I'm all about building wealth, and I think you should purchase because you're going to have the write-offs. But what I tell people is, don't let the lender or loan officer tell you what you could afford. You tell them what you could afford. What I mean by that is when you give the lender all of your income information, they pull your credit and all of the things, they may come back and tell you, hey, Tony, you're qualified for a $700,000 house. That's great, right? But that $700,000 house, that comes with a $4,000, $5,000 mortgage. Is that what you want? Or did you want your mortgage to be $3,000 or $2,000 or whatever the number is that you feel comfortable paying based on your budget? And once you tell them, I'm comfortable paying $3,000 a month, what does that mean for me? And then now they're probably going to come back and tell you, well, that means that you need to stay in, a $500,000 price range or whatever. I'm just throwing out numbers, but basically you tell the lender what you can afford to pay. Don't let them tell you. And you talked about the maintenance of a home and just the unexpected repairs. But remember, you have a whole life, right? Like you want to travel and you want to eat and you got to put gas in your car. You want to get your nails done, your hair done, and all of those things. And so having a budget is crucial. So if it came up to paying rent or paying a mortgage, I'm always going to say a mortgage, just because, not because I'm a realtor, but because of the tax write-offs and the benefits of owning a home. But then there are some people who are not mature enough to own a home yet. And, maybe they need to start with a townhome or a condo where, some of the things that do need require maintenance are taken care of. And so having a consultation with a client up front and really kind of understanding their situation, who they are, what their needs are, that's how we could better advise. So when you meet a realtor, you want to have that conversation up front.
Okay. Back to when you said that, you're about building wealth, and I hear a lot of people saying that, by getting a home, that's the best way to build wealth because you got the value in the home and stuff like that. But what happens when that home doesn't hold the value? Like, for example, good friend of mine, matter of fact, my roommate in college, he was my best man in the wedding. Mike, he moved here from Atlanta, from New York in 2000. I think it was 2000, 2002, 2003, whatever. And he had lived here before because we had been roommates here in Atlanta when we first got out of college. But he had moved to Atlanta and to New York. And, he had 2 kids at the time, and they were living in a, suburban area where it really wasn't a lot of us there. So when he moved back to Atlanta, he wanted his kids to be around, our culture.
Right.
So he moved to, I just can't really go blank, between Martin Luther King and Camp Creek. What's that everybody likes to move to over there?
Like you said between Martin Luther King and Camp Cascade area.
Cascade. So he moved off of Cascade in a nice area off of Cascade.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say he spent more for his house than I spent for mine. I mean, I think he had a big house.
A McMansion.
Yeah, McMansion. Yeah. But when that recession came and his house value dropped to almost to a point where he literally, him and his wife was a physician, him and his wife, they just left the house and guess where they moved to?
Smyrna.
No, I kept trying to tell them to do that, but they didn't do.
Stone Mountain.
No.
Where?
Johns Creek. Johns Creek.
Oh, yeah.
They both moved to Johns Creek also.
Mm-hmm.
And they like, we up here for good, you know, because I mean, his value, I want to say, I mean, I don't quote me on it, but I want to say his house was like 700,000 and that thing dropped to like 250 or something like three. He's like, I'm walking. I'm just leaving this here and we gone.
Quickly, I want to talk to you guys about a foundation called Viva Se Amina. This foundation is dedicated to improving the mental health of eliminating the stress and anxiety that happens when athletes transfer to meaningful career opportunities after they completed their time in sports. You know, the foundation believes in empowering these athletes to drive beyond the field, court, or arena. Because that transition can be overwhelming sometimes as they navigate the shift from, you know, having a spotlight as an athlete to uncertainties of post-retirement life. So your support is very instrumental. Check us out. Every donation is directly impacts these individuals. So go to this link and check it out. Thank you.
So how do you, when you say, you know, you're building wealth, how can you say what the value would be in a home when you buy it? Because
so the only thing I can say I wish I had a crystal ball, right? Like where I knew exactly where to invest. But you gotta stick with it. And so what I probably would have advised them to do if they could have was not give it up, but maybe rent it out. Because right now I bet you the values have come back up in that area. And so it was a tough time, and depending on the area, the part of the city, some parts of the city were hit hard because of the type of people who moved in, and they just couldn't sustain it. And so some areas did get hit, but the values have come back up. And so real estate is a long-term investment if you're talking about building wealth, unless it's something like you're buying something, renovating it, and then reselling it. But you got to stick it out. They probably should have held out. I mean, it's hindsight 2020, but they had a lot of government programs that were helping people that were upside down. And so, you know, they could have probably got some assistance.
Well, yeah, if you know, they had enough funds to move. Some people couldn't move. So some people had to stay. Right. Yeah. Because they had to stay because, you know, and I guess it might have turned out better for them, or if they just lost the house, then that's another subject. But
and I also don't believe in throwing good money at bad money. So, you know, sometimes you just got to make that call.
Right. I look at my mom's situation. My mom and dad in 1969, they moved into a home that I grew up in Alabama, in Birmingham. And, you know, I was doing the white flight. You know, I mean, those folks were getting out of that neighborhood, and we were the first ones to move in. And I was to say, it was funny because those guys left lawnmowers and everything. They was gone. They was
like, for real.
It was the real white flight. They like, we getting up out of here. But I look at the home now. She's been in there ever since. Can't get her out of it. You can't get it. She won't leave it if you try to pull out. But I don't see the value in it. I don't. She always saying, well, you know, I'm leaving this, and I don't say anything. But it's like when I look at the neighborhood now compared to what it was then, how do you calculate it? I mean, because you know, we grew up in an area called West End, and I call it Worst End now. So you know what I'm saying. So, but the value of the home, I mean, you'll get something out of it, but I don't know how a person could call themselves building wealth from that.
Mhm.
So,
Well, you could turn it into wealth because you could potentially rent that property out,
mhm,
whenever she does move out of it,
mhm,
and the land itself is valuable, I'm sure, and like I say, it's the long game. That area is probably gonna do another, renovation or flip, and
mhm,
so people might start, um, renovating their homes or building up the area. There may be some economic, growth that's coming
mhm.
in the future. It might not even be something that you see. It may be something that
Exactly.
your grandkids see.
Right,
And
right.
so
Because
that's what I mean by having that wealth. You may not feel it.
yeah.
You may feel it by getting that rental income
Mhm.
while you wait, but having the
That's a
property.
great point you made, because I'm thinking, because the area is not too far from downtown Birmingham. So when they get ready to flip it again, and they're
Mhm.
gonna do some more Jennifer, was it regentrification?
Gentrification. Mhm.
Yeah. So you're right.
Well,
It'll be
look at our
30
West
years from now.
End. Look at our West End in Atlanta.
Yeah, you're
When I
right.
first started, 20 something years ago,
We didn't want to.
I was selling houses in the West End for $70,000.
Yeah,
Right now, they're selling for $700,000.
exactly. Yeah, you're right.
Like
That's a good point.
the
The West End now.
same the
Yeah,
same houses, like slightly renovated, but they're
they
still
renovate it and they call it historical area. So,
yes, yes. So, and
so
I literally sold houses under $100,000 in the
right,
West End, several of them, and
right,
now that's unheard of.
right, right.
So
I,
that's what I mean.
I got some questions I want to ask you, and I got them here. Let me see if I can find them right quick. So, what's going on with the national lawsuit?
Okay, so
Mhm.
I don't know if you're familiar or been following the news, but the National Association of Realtors has been sued. There were two or three. What do you call it when everybody joins a case? Help me out.
Oh, yeah,
Class
class
action
action. Yeah,
lawsuit.
yeah.
And so, as a result, the National Association of Realtors was on the hook. They lost the case, one of the cases, and they had to pay like some crazy amount of money. But instead, they have come up with a settlement. And it's really going to change the way that we do business as realtors. Um, I will.
What's the lawsuit?
So, buyers were saying that they didn't know what commissions their agents were getting, and sellers didn't know what commissions they were agreeing to, something like that.
Mhm.
And so as a result of that, we now, well, Georgia has always been ahead of the game. I can say this. We already had things in place that protect us, but I'll just say nationally, realtors cannot show a buyer a property without having a written agreement with them up front, where the buyer understands how that realtor is getting paid. They have to agree to how that realtor is being paid. And we have multiple listing services. Like if I were to sell your home, when you call me to sell your home, I'm going to put it in the multiple listing service. And normally in our old world, we would advertise what commission we were paying. We can no longer advertise the commission or compensation that
Wait,
is
wait, wait,
being.
wait a minute. You just confused me. You saying initially that they have to now show how much they make. Now you saying you can't show the commission. So what's the difference?
So that's just part of what the settlement was. So we have to call. I have to communicate with if I'm representing a buyer, I
Mhm.
would need to call the seller's agent to say, hey, are you all offering any compensation for this home that you're selling? And if they say yes, then I need to get it in writing what they're willing to pay as a compensation fee prior to me showing it to the buyer. If they say no, then I have to inform the buyer that in order for me to show you this house, you're going to have to agree to pay me a fee out of your pocket as
But
opposed to the seller.
if the buyer doesn't know all of this, then
that the realtor needs to explain it to them. So it's really going to change the way real estate is being handled across the board. Nowadays, in the current time, this takes place in August, on August 17th. Nowadays, if you see a listing, you go show the listing, there's a compensation or a commission attached to it. The seller had agreed to pay their agent agrees to split it with you, the buyer's agent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not going to be the case anymore, potentially. Sellers may say, I don't want you to split your commission with a buyer's agent. Let the buyer pay their own agent. That could be a
Mm-hmm.
thing now. And so, I mean, it was always that way. But it's now a law, I guess you could say. Commission
Okay.
has always been negotiable. But like you said, people may not have explained it,
Mm-hmm.
that it was negotiable, but now you're going to have to definitely have those deeper conversations.
So you
Um,
said it was three things?
So you can't advertise compensation in the multiple listing service. You have to have a written agreement with a buyer prior to showing them anything. Um, and your buyer has to agree to what your compensation is going to be up front. Um, and for example, let's just say you're my buyer and you agree, okay, I'm going to pay you X amount of dollars to represent me. And let's just say the seller was offering to pay an amount uh, to purchase their home. Well, if what the seller was willing to pay is higher than what the buyer had agreed to pay, then the agent is not able to get that difference unless they have that in writing. So it's a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
What's sad is that buyers who may not be in a financial position to afford to pay for representation, they're the ones who may end up with the short end of the stick. And what I mean by that is they may be the ones without representation. Um, and they're
Mm-hmm.
relying on, hopefully that agent on the other end is going to do them right, but they're representing the seller. So they don't really have their best interest at heart. So it's sad for buyers who may not be in a financial position to bring the commission for their agent for
Mm-hmm.
representation, or even adding it to the sales price. They may
Mm-hmm.
be barely getting in at that sales price. And so um, I'm just going to continue to kind of watch and see what happens. But fortunately, we've already had buyer brokerage agreements. And so that's nothing new. But just how compensation is paid is going to be a new way of doing business. So we'll see.
Well, you mama bear, so you're gonna take care of
Oh yeah,
everybody
I
anyway. You know
am. I
what I'm saying?
am.
So tell me, what type of market are we in now? What's going on there?
I would say we're still very much in a seller's market.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that there is not enough inventory on the market. So
Mm-hmm.
buyers are really struggling to find a home. Houses that are in, your John Creek and your
Mm-hmm.
East Cobb and, some of the more popular areas, those homes, move very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But other areas, they're not moving as quickly, but there's still not a lot that's on the market.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're at like 2 months worth of inventory, which means if no one else put their house on the market for 2 months, we would run out of houses to sell.
Wow.
Yeah, so but we're kind of in a changing seller's market. And what I mean
Mm-hmm.
by that is sellers are not able to really just demand what they want anymore, and they're having to negotiate a little bit more, and they're negotiating.
Mm-hmm.
Back in a few years ago when the rates were really really low, sellers weren't negotiating because they didn't have to. But they're having to negotiate because the quality of the homes are, if they're great homes, then they're going to move quickly. But if the house needs painting or needs some carpet or needs some
Mm-hmm.
love, then, sellers are having to negotiate. But we're still in a seller's market.
Okay, why would a person use a realtor? Why? Okay, if I got a house, I want to sell it. Am I want to sell it directly to somebody without you? Because I don't want to pay that commission. I don't want to. Why is it better to do that? With you guys. I know you got the knowledge and all that, but
Right.
some people, like, I got a partner of mine. He just gonna buy it, and I'm just gonna
Right.
sell it to him.
You hit it on the head. The knowledge, the expertise, the time. I mean, not many people have the time to sit and do all of the things that are needed to get a house sold. It's a service that we provide, and we have the market knowledge. We know what's going on in the area. We know how to negotiate contracts. We know what the contracts say. We know the steps that need to take place in order to make sure that you have clear title and that you're not buying a home that has a cloudy title, meaning there's something going on, there's
Right.
liens or
Yeah.
anything like that. You just need somebody that's going to represent you and have your best interest at heart. And keep you out of it, because
Yeah.
sometimes selling a home is very personal, and it could be a hard thing, emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And so just having that neutral person kind of guiding you through the process is very important. You can sell your home on your own or purchase a home on your own, but you may be leaving money on the table. You may have gotten more for your home even after paying compensation, because a lot of times people go online and they get these estimates and things of that nature, but they don't realize that that's that's all computer generated. That's not the
Mm-hmm.
person who knows, oh, the reason why that house sold for that amount is because, there was a dump behind the house. And so, your house doesn't have a dump behind it. So
Right.
you're not having to compensate for that. And so, just having somebody that actually understands what's going on, I think is critical. So I would not want to put one of the largest purchases that I'm going to make in my life in my own hands without having all that knowledge.
So if a seller, if a seller just wants to sell directly to his friend or somebody,
Mhm.
does he still have to fill out them 500 pages like when I was bought a house? Sign here, sign here, sign
You
here,
mean
sign here,
at the
sign here.
closing? At the
Yeah,
closing?
sign here, sign here, sign here, sign here,
If a
sign
loan
here.
is involved,
Sign here, 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 sign here. I'm like, can I finally get my key?
Bruh.
Sign
if
here, sign
if
here.
we're getting a loan, yes. If it's a cash transaction, then no, it's not
Okay.
that many pages. But yeah, it's still a lot of pages to sign.
God, the patience you have to sit there.
I love it though. I love to see people accomplish what they set out to accomplish, no matter what side they're on. If they're on the, sales side and they're selling something because they're potentially, downsizing, upsizing, but they're, selling a
Mhm.
home, getting the equity, even if they're
Right,
reinvesting it, or a
right.
buyer. I think that's probably the greatest joy, when buyers kind of, especially first time buyers, when they get in and, they're their first home, and so they're
Yeah.
starting their life and their family, so it's a rewarding experience.
I think you've already answered this question because you talked about the interest rates, but my question was, have the interest rates decreased? When, if not, when will they, or should the buyers wait until they do? Did you answer that like earlier?
Well, I talked about the interest rates were high,
Okay.
higher. I haven't seen a huge decrease. They are coming down slightly. You gotta remember, like, rates were like 2.3% and 3%, and now they're like 7%.
Right.
But when I started real estate, they were 7%, 6 and 7%. So I'm kind of like, it's a normal rate, but I get it. It's not the low rates, and it's not where, like, the average buyer at 7%, what that means versus 3% is vastly different. So I get it. Um, but I don't think buyers should wait. I read a quote the other day, and I wish I had it pulled up, but it was if you continue to wait to buy and you continue to rent, property values are going to continue to increase. They're not going to decrease. So you're going to end up paying significantly more for a house if you wait 20 years or 10 years or whatever to buy, because property values are not going down. And
Mm-hmm.
so you want to go ahead and buy now. And then if rates do get better and the market will allow it, then you can refinance into a different rate. And sometimes you got to start, maybe you start a little smaller than what your dream is. You know, everybody wants the McMansion, but maybe you got to start with a 2-bedroom house and
Mm.
work your way up. So I don't think people should wait. I think they need to go ahead and jump in and start building wealth.
Okay. Give me one of those stories that really touch your heart about somebody buying a house from you, and you was so, when they moved in and got the key, they were so excited and happy. You don't have to call a name, but I know you've had those kind of stories that might have brought tears to your eyes or something, because you seem like that kind of person.
That would cry. I cry.
Yeah.
I am sad when I when it's over. It's like, oh man, we're not gonna talk anymore.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know,
So
on every day.
it's like finishing a good book. You're like, oh
Mhm.
God, it's over with. Yeah.
I would say one of a couple, um, fairly older couple. I would say they're not retirement age, but
Mm-hmm.
nearing retirement. But they had owned a home in, I think, New Jersey, all their lives. They relocated. Times got rough. They bought a home here. I want to say somewhere far east, like Cherokee County, somewhere like that.
Mm-hmm.
And times got hard and they've ended up going into foreclosure. And then they rented a house in Brookhaven and fell in love with Brookhaven, you know, rented. They were like, we're just going to rent for the moment until they, you know, could rebuild. I teach real estate classes every first Monday for Wealth University. It's a whole nother program that I'm involved with. And I met them there. They were going through the program to rebuild their credit, rework their budget, and all of those things. Um, and they continued to work with me, work with their lender, and finally they were ready to purchase. The wife had MS, so she really had some very strict guidelines on the type of home that she could move into. She, you know, she needed no stairs, and
I got you. Like
just
a
needed some
ranch. Yeah.
accommodations. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she had to have certain accommodations. And so they started out, you know, in one area, but their budget kind of quickly told them maybe we need to broaden the area
Mm-hmm.
a little bit because what they were seeing they didn't really love. And so we finally found a home. It was an estate sale, meaning someone had passed away. Um, in not in the house, but just the owner was no longer living, and turns out that the owner had MS as well and had built out the house to accommodate for her situation, and so it was really like perfect for them. Things got a little rocky during the transaction. We didn't know if they were going to actually close or not, but they pushed through, and they actually were able to get the house through many obstacles. And the wife, when they said it was done, I mean, she just started crying at the closing table because she was stressed.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't know if it was going to happen. It did happen, because after we had it inspected, there were several things that we found out that were wrong. And so they were
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out their budget, like, can we make it work? And so, long story short, the way she just burst out in tears because
Mm-hmm.
she felt like her life aligned with the previous owner's life, and it was a whole big crying mess at the closing table because the sisters who were selling it, they were crying just to see her joy and her happiness. And then a celebrity who she admires, who is also affiliated with the program, we surprised them, so that made her cry even
Oh
more.
wow.
Yeah, so it was a great great day.
Wow. That's cool. That's cool. That's a great story. And you seem like the person that would, I don't know, doing this interview, I could see why people will buy from you. You know what
Oh,
I'm saying? I really can see that because, you're not, uh, you seem like a person that's trying to help the individual, not just trying to sell a house.
yeah, I'm about relationships. Like
Hmm.
I believe in building those relationships because that's what's gonna last, a long time versus the money. The
Hmm.
money's gonna come, money's gonna go, but that relationship, I have done so many things with the relationships I've had and built with clients. You know, I've been afforded a lot of opportunities through my clients, and it's because
Hmm.
of those relationships. So yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna ask you a question now that I used to ask all my guests, and I stopped. I don't know why. I just forgot to ask. It's kind of off the beaten path here, but um, you a sports fan?
I am.
Okay. Who's the GOAT, Jordan or LeBron?
I'm saying Jordan.
Okay. Why?
He's great at everything. I mean, everything. I mean, LeBron is right there, they're neck and neck.
Hmm.
I respect LeBron. I respect everything that he's doing. I love the way he's a father and a husband. His personal life and
Personal
the
life,
way
yeah.
I love everything about what he has done, but Jordan is the GOAT.
Okay, basketball. Go. All right, last thing, Valerie, uh, put the camera on Janaea, and I want her to tell my viewers and everybody else who see this, why should somebody in Atlanta or people moving to Atlanta buy from you? Why? I mean, it's a lot of other realtors out here, but why Janaea?
You said it. You said it in the beginning. I'm the best. I'm the best that there is in Atlanta. No, honestly, I am the best, but I am very trustworthy, very patient, very hardworking. I have your best interest at heart. For me, you've heard me say it. It's not just about the money. For me, of course, I do this for a living, and I do want to make money, but I care more about you accomplishing your dreams and helping you, whether it be buying a home, buying an investment property, selling a home, buying commercial. I do a little bit of commercial as well. So it's it's very gratifying to me to see my clients accomplish their goals, and I take my time. I listen very closely to what you're saying, what you need, and I act and I respond, and I you're my boss. I do whatever you need for me to do. I'm very forward thinking, so I'm always going to be 3 steps ahead of what you probably should be thinking. And I'm going to make sure I ask the right questions so that we can find the best property and the best solution for you. So, I
All
mean,
right,
I'm the GOAT. That's
I
why.
got you. You're right. You the GOAT. Now, that was my last question, but because she zoomed in on you, and I saw your little junky bookshelf up there.
I
Tell
know.
me, tell me, what's your favorite book up there besides the Bible? What's your favorite book that you read?
Um, hmm. I would probably say maybe that Mastering the Art of Selling.
Okay.
Um, I've also, what is the oh God, what is that title?
Wait a minute, Master and Art of Selling. That's not Trump, is it?
Uh-uh.
Okay.
No. It's Stanley. No. Oh, the year. Oh no, I'm not gonna say that one. Kiss, bow, shake hands. That was also great. That was a good book.
Kiss, bow, shake hands.
Yeah, it taught me all about international clients and how you deal with different cultures and
What's the
what's
author?
important to them. Uh, Look, I can't stand up. Can I take
Yeah, it's just I'll find it. Don't worry about it. Stay
it's kiss,
stay in your
bow, or shake hands?
okay. Kiss, bow, or
That
shake
was a
hand.
good book if you deal with lots of different cultures, because
Hmm.
some things can be insulting and you don't even
No,
know,
know it.
you
Right.
know, that you're being insulting. So that was good because I do try to do some international business as well.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Do you know this guy? Because I call him Mr. Tuskegee.
Let me see, go down. Yeah, LJ. Yep.
Okay. So he is Mr. Tuskegee, if you know.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's my guy. You know, I interviewed him earlier when I started with our podcast. I've been knowing Larry for a while. And
Mhm. That's who I thought you were gonna say.
oh,
I
okay.
do. So
Okay.
I thought you were gonna say LJ, but
I'm gonna
yeah.
send you a picture of the other guy. You're gonna say, yeah, I know him. I know him. So, all right. So again, this show has been sponsored by New Spirit. Get that right here. Where better matters. And Mr. Mark Sterling and Kat Sterling, who started this great company. And we're going to be talking more about that later on. But because Miss Janea was so great, I'm going to have to contact Mr. Janea next month. And we're going to do this again. We're going to talk about real estate questions. Yeah. Yeah. I had a car guy yesterday, and I said the same thing to him because he talked about the finances, everything kind of like with real estate going on. And I said, man, I got to talk to you once a month or something. So, you know, we can get more questions, you know, especially about Atlanta, because a lot of people are moving here.
Mhm.
And you are the GOAT.
I mean,
So, hey. All right. So it's been another episode of Elite Psyche, the Mental Toughness Show. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you do all that. I don't care if it's a crazy comment, just comment, like, and subscribe. We're growing, and I appreciate everybody who views this show and everybody who likes and comments. If you're not, if you hadn't subscribed and you've been watching this show for a while, I know there's a lot of people who haven't subscribed. You're a hater, and don't be a hater. Just hit the subscribe button and hit the all button, and we all good. So again, thank you, Miss Janelle Kennedy, and we're gonna talk to you again. All right.
all
Have a
right.
good day.
Sounds good.
Appreciate it.
No problem.